It's helpful when you can turn your camera off and keep yourself muted. And and we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Shelly. I'm a counselor with the Wisconsin Ascension EAP group. I'm based in Oshkosh, where I see clients and also teach yoga here at one of the studios. I'm a registered yoga instructor, and we started doing these R&Rs back during COVID when we were all stuck at home, and so we've carried through and offering these monthly, the first Wednesday of every month from noon to 12:30. And just a reminder that if you're joining us today, you have access to our EAP services, which is basically free and confidential counseling that has been paid by your employer. And we offer lots of resources where you don't even have to walk into our office to access us. We have a wonderful website, a YouTube channel with all our recordings of previous presentations, as well as a playlist of all of our four going on, I think, 5 years, 4 years for sure, of R&R sessions. So feel free to take a look at those. So we're in September, and for those of you in Wisconsin, you've probably noticed a bit of a shift even today with the rain and the cooler temperatures that it's bringing in. We're starting to notice some fall leaves on the ground, and school is starting. So lots of schedules shifting, routines changing, and I have a fair amount of clients who are anticipating the colder months now, especially those prone to seasonal affective disorder. And I've been reflecting on that. I'm on site for Imprint, one of our companies that contracts with us. And yesterday I posted on their social media site and last week as well about transition anxiety or change anxiety. And a lot of times we don't even think to name it because in some ways it's so normal. Our bodies really crave equilibrium, even if what it's craving isn't necessarily healthy. It just loves sameness. And when we get changes in season, changes in routine, our nervous system gets out of that equilibrium and starts to create some anxiety. Just like we could say, getting up in front of people to talk, we get anxious, and we might call that performance anxiety. Now, for some people, it might paralyze them a little bit more than others, but pretty much everyone is going to feel, an activation in their nervous system. But interestingly, I mean, I've been familiar with Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken, for as long as I can remember. And I was really reflecting on his poem in a different way in the last week. Thinking about the paths diverged and how this can actually relate to some of the change we're going through. It's not necessarily taking a risk and with a big life decision. It might be just a behavior change that's going on in our routine and or a behavior change that we know we need to make. Maybe switching from being less reactive to more responsive. And we can look down that old path of, oh my gosh, that reaction would have taken me down that path. I'm going to choose this new reaction, new response, and it's going to take me down a different path. For my clients who are parents and, meeting their children's teachers for the first time, or even my own daughter, and especially those with special needs, we just are really hoping the teacher is going to keep our kids intact, right? Their self-esteem, their sense of self. And that can feel like a path diverging. We see our kids or a family member going through a shift that's going to involve us too and affect us. So, this whole idea that a lot of us are treading on new paths that are less traveled. at least by ourselves, right? And so I invite you to take a moment here and think about maybe the fork in the road or the path that's diverging for you. Maybe some changes or change singular that you're trying to be intentional about and how that is taking you on a different path, whether that's in your personal life or work life. And check in with yourself and notice, is there any anxiety there about it? And does that anxiety trigger some different thought patterns? Okay. And what's really helpful to do when we're going through this is to just neutrally observe the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, to learn to hold space for ourselves like we would hold for a friend, give ourselves grace that these reactions are normal, and to come into our breath, right? A lot of times when we're on these paths, it feels like we're deep in the woods and we can't see the end of the path. Like in this image, there's a path, but it's not very clear. Have you all ever been in the woods before where you're like, I think this is the trail, but I'm not sure. Let's see where it takes us, right? And because we're so concerned about the path not being clear or being in an area we're not familiar with, we can forget to admire the beauty of this spot, right? You could think of immersing yourself in this image and the sound maybe of the winds through the needles of the tree, um, the softness of the earth underneath your feet. This gorgeous light that's filtering in through the fog that gives it a sense of mystery, but even you could say sacredness. Well, we've watched enough scary movies, right? Like The Fog. I think of Game of Thrones, it's like, oh, something good isn't going to happen, but that's not always the case. These moments can be a beautiful time for serenity. And we typically see the fog more, right, during the season changing, going from the hot weather into the cooler. When I was up north this weekend, there was certainly lots of fog on the lake. So take a moment here and with this awareness of whatever shifts are going on and maybe the anxiety that's there for you, certainly the not knowing where some of these changes will take us for better, for worse, right? Um, Find a way to take a seat here in this space and and see if you can be a neutral observer and sink a little bit deeper into your chair through the legs, sinking down the sits bones, as well as the back. Let yourself lean back comfortably and notice the position of your hands. Are they clenched? Are they holding each other? Where are they at? And maybe release them if they're held and let them relax on top of your lap and top of your legs. And take the shoulders up towards your ears, scrunch them in, and then with an exhale, roll them back and release. Let the shoulder blades release down your back. Maybe shift the hips. See if you can come to a deeper place of comfort and note the security and safety in this moment. Okay, a lot of times our brain is saying it's all bad, when really maybe 5, 10%, hopefully not more than 15% of your day is super, super uber stressful, right? The rest of it really has the potential to be just neutral, or better yet, good, right? So right now, come into the safety and the security and the serenity of this moment. And notice the movement of the breath at the navel center. There's not much that we really know of going on in our body. We know our thoughts, we know our physical sensations, right? The sensory experience. But in terms of our nervous system, we know what's going on based on the breath. So let yourself come to awareness here as the belly expands with the inhale and subsides back in the navel center on the exhale. Right? So imagine, I love to imagine this navel center being like a pool and my breath being an expression of life within me, expanding with my breath and subsiding back into this wonderful pool of energy and nourishment on the exhale. And let the movement of the breath here at the navel center draw you in deeper into a deeper stillness, deeper calm. And notice that as the breath deepens and as the body relaxes deeper, your thoughts likely have too. Right? We can get a break from the thoughts. The thoughts don't really change anything for us. When used to work with the elderly population doing group therapy, we talk about sometimes thoughts are like trying to get somewhere in a rocking chair. You know, we don't have to keep revisiting them over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. So let yourself settle. Bring awareness to the breath at the nostrils, the very tip of the nostrils as the breath comes in. Bring it up the nostrils to the bridge and deep down into the lungs as the ribcage expands. And then with your exhale, start to hug that navel center in a little bit deeper. The diaphragm pulls up into the rib cage, squeezes those lungs out to expel the air. And you'll notice the touch of the breath as the breath leaves the nostrils. And come a little bit deeper here. Another breath in through the nose. Deep, deep, deep. And exhale, open the mouth and sigh out. Release it out. Let's do that again. Inhale through the nose. Deep down into the lungs. And exhale out through the mouth. Release. Good. Now bring awareness to your feet. The bottoms of the feet root down into the floor. You might wiggle the toes and notice some softness and playfulness there. And just let the feet rest. The floor supports them. And this sense of supportedness, right? There's no effort here. This is effortless ease. Travels up through the ankles, through the lower legs into the knees. Feel the knees release, especially the back of the knees, the thighs, the hips, the pelvic bowl, and that sacral area, the space between the hips. And then up through the abdomen, bringing that sense of ease and calm into the lower abdominals, the navel center, the upper abdominals, up into the rib cage, the bottom of the heart, up through the heart to the upper heart, out through the collarbones to the shoulders. And imagine and picture, experience this wave of ease and softness traveling down your arms, down through the elbows, the forearms and the wrists, the palms, down through the fingers and the fingertips. The whole body, the torso, the legs rests here. As that ease and comfort travels up the spine. And we always think of the back of the spine, but maybe think about the front of the spine as well. Up into the throat, the sides of the neck, the back of the neck, through the back of the skull, the sides of the head, the temples, the forehead, the crown of the head. And let all the facial features go. Release them out. Soften the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the tongue, and all the muscles in the mouth. Enjoy this. Drink it in. Think about all the monarchs and moths and bees that have been slurping up all the nectar, slurp up all the nectar of this calm and ease in this moment. Good. And start to wiggle the toes, start to wiggle the fingers, bringing awareness back into the physical body. Bring awareness back to the belly, breathing. And start to rub the hands together, creating some warmth, and bring them over your eyes. Acknowledge here your inner and your outer world. And then as you open the fingers to let the light in, start to transition back into the room if your eyes have been closed. And we're going to start to move the body a little bit more here. So it's helpful sometimes to scoot to the front of your chair and scoot back away from the desk, maybe. We're going to interlace the fingers and just in this uh, kind of theme of taking a different path, take your less dominant hand on top. So it's going to feel awkward because sometimes these changes are awkward at first and then we adjust. And let's flip the palms and bring them up overhead. So notice what happens to the lower back, the tailbone, the core. Activate the core, pull in the lower ribs, and let the tailbone descend down. The sits bones anchor. Good. Now open the arms. Come into that fork in the road with the arms and open up. Breathe it in. Exhale, hug the elbows in, squeeze between the shoulder blades. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Yeah. And then let's open up again. So on our paths, we take one step at a time. We're not doing the whole thing all at once. We can stop and rest, right? Exhale, bring the elbows in, squeeze. Lovely. Yeah. One more time. Inhale, bring it up, open it up, reach up through the bottom of the heart, through the chin. Good. Bring the hands back to center, palms touch. Interlace the fingers, choose the non-dominant clasp, and stretch again. Yeah. All right, let's drop that right arm down to your side or onto the thigh. Side stretch up and over. So the emphasis is lengthening through both sides of the body, not just crunching in on the right side, really lengthening it up first. Use those sits bones, especially that left hip and sits bones, and bring the fingertips over. So the arm is by the ear. You can keep the chin neutral or bring it towards that right shoulder. Breathe, bring in that breath. Yeah. Come back to center. Bring the right hand up to meet the left. Palms touch. If that's available to you, you can always hold one wrist or the other, or link thumbs. All right, drop that left arm down to your side or onto the thigh. Lift up right out of that pelvic bowl. Root through the right hip and sits bones as you lean and lengthen both side bodies. Arm is by the ear. Chin can be neutral. It's nice to tuck the chin in, right? And then maybe bring it towards that left shoulder. Breathe. Beautiful. Sweep the left arm up, palms shine together, and we're going to exhale. We're going to exhale on a count of 5, floating our hands down. So 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let's sweep them back up. 2, 3, 4, 5, and back down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. So let's roll the shoulders here. Front, up towards the ears and back, reverse direction. Hug that navel center in. Be aware of that core. Good. Bring the shoulders towards each other, coming into that cow as you exhale. In or cat, inhale, we come into cow. Bring the belly, the chest forward, open through the throat, lifting the chin. Exhale back into cat. So you're arching. If we were on the floor, cat would make more sense because you're like a cat that's freaked out. And then inhale, cow. So the belly of the cow hangs, right? Good. Now come back to center. Move the wrists, rotate them, reverse direction. Pick up your right foot and rotate that ankle, reverse direction. Bring the right foot down, lift the left, and rotate the ankle, the left leg, reverse direction. Yeah. And then bring both feet to the floor, lengthen through the spine again, find that length through the crown of the head, and hug the right knee in. Okay, point and flex the foot. We're going to lift that leg and bring the ankle across the top of your thigh. Okay. And make sure you feel like you've got enough support in your seat here. So lengthen up, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And you can even take your hands and bring them to your hip points and behind and use your thumbs and the fingers to tilt yourself forward so that the hinge is truly from the back. Okay. And you're bringing length in through the back, through the crown of the head, the back of the neck too. So tuck your chin and just start to come forward. Your hands can come towards your thighs or onto your leg that's crossed over. Hug that navel center in a little bit deeper and see if you can come into a deeper forward fold. And then when you come to your edge, we're looking at an edge of a sensation level between a 4 and a 7. Nothing like an 8 or a 9 or 10. Certainly if there's sharp pain, you back off. But once you get to that edge, just droop the head and really soften everything. Good. Roll back up. Hug that knee in again with the ankle crossed. That opens up our SI joint. Feels really good. Good. And bring the right foot back down. Pick up the left. Bring the knee in. Hold around the knee or the shin here. Point and flex the foot. Hug that navel center and keep it engaged. And then cross the ankle over the thigh. Okay, and here we find our length. So really bring it up. You can bring your hands to the hips and use the thumbs to tilt yourself over. Find length here. So really engage that navel center. Tuck it deeply in. Find your edge, a gentle edge, especially if you just ate. And then tuck the chin. And then just fold, slump it down. Relax, release. Good. And then lift up. Bring that knee back in with the ankle crossed if that's available to you. It's always a lovely way to tend to our hips and psoas, that SI joint. Good. And bring the left foot down. Let's do one more twist. We're going to open up our arms, shine the fingertips towards the sky, and twist to the right. And so you're twisting from the navel center. Your hips stay stable here. And then you can bring the hands down. Maybe the left hand comes to the outside of the right leg. The right hand comes behind you. But what's important in this twist is you hug the navel center in and lift a little bit more before you twist from the heart region and the chin towards the shoulder. Yeah, looking behind, right? When we take a new path, it's going to be natural to look behind and have hindsight a bit. Good. Come back to center. Lift the arms back up. Twist to the left. So keep those hips pointing forward like they're headlights. Twisting from the navel center. Find length through the spine and the crown of the head. And then bring that right hand to the outside of the left leg and the left hand behind you. And then maybe twist from the upper ribs, the heart region, and the chin towards the shoulder. Breathe. Come back to the breath always. Beautiful. And then come back to center. Okay, how are you guys feeling? Right? You might wiggle a bit. Now it's time for our mini Shavasana, so you can just slump in your chair. Be just as schlumpy, the poorest posture you can possibly find. Maybe bring your head back. Okay. Maybe close your eyes and notice the shifts, just doing those few little movements, how much it changes our our bodies, right? The way our bodies feel right now, our stress level, our sense of ease. And let's let's revisit this poem by Robert Frost. Okay. So, The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So I encourage you all, as you take some new paths, maybe, right, in your mindsets or behaviors or life situations, to know that your intentional choices will make all the difference, and I hope it leads to greener pastures for you and clear paths, right? Even if at the beginning, it seems very unknown, right? So, with that, um, I'll leave you with our contact information, right? And if you're collecting wellness points for joining us, the keyword today is path. But otherwise, the easiest way to reach us is by phone or email. Certainly check out our YouTube channel and um, our website. And these are generally loaded by early next week by the latest. Okay, so if you want to revisit this one or any of our former ones. But I'm thrilled that each of you joined us today. Tell your coworkers, invite them. This is the same Zoom link for all of our lunch and learns. We'll have one in October coming up, and but right now, put the next October R&R session in your calendar, the first Wednesday of the month, noon to 12:30. All right. Well, you all be well and enjoy the shifts ahead, okay? Find beauty in them. Find a sense of gratitude on the path. All right.